Hey, how you doing? This is John, and welcome to John's Long Box. I'm here with Ben Soto, and for those of you who've been following, I just talked to you Saturday, right?
Yeah, I think it was just Saturday.
Yeah, so Saturday, and then invited you over here. That's the way it is. I have a lot. So, excuse me. For those of you who watch it and didn't know it, I hurt my neck because I know everybody's going to ask about this. Crashed my car. I'm fine. Hairline fracture. I got to wear this for 8 weeks. So I shaved my beard. All right, because that's what the chat's going to be. Right? What happened? What happened? So hey, Fabrizio is here.
Hey, Fabrizio.
Fabrizio. I got a show.
He's my favorite Italian.
Oh yeah. Oh man,
Yeah.
I guess that makes me his second favorite. But he does Horace H. Hoover.
Yes.
Just read these. I already read them when they came out from Alterna, and now I read them again. Now that they're what is the name of his company? Gloomy Wood, and with little extra stuff and interesting letters pages. I like that Fabrizio brought back the letters page. And then we got Pity Ma, who for the longest time I thought she was just like pity me, and then I realized it's for pit bulls. So we got a dog lover. So how you doing, Ben? How's everything? What happened? What happened since I saw you a couple of days ago? Anything new?
Like 2 days have passed, 3 days have passed. Nothing new.
Nothing new. So for those of you who don't know, you got your own comic that you would, I was on your channel pitching my comic, and now you're going to come here pitching your comic.
That's
so
right.
we'll just do the obligatory check through all the links. We got the oh yeah, this is a big deal. This is my forum. I've been running a forum since like 1999, and it crashed.
Wow.
Crashed. We rebuilt it. We built it from the ashes. It's like a phoenix. Well, my buddy Paul just managed to get it back up. So if you're interested, you could go to this. This will also take you to my Fund My Comic for where Heroic Tales, and it'll also take you to Kickstarter. But if you go here, you could read all me and my friends our adventures. Every time we play, with the exception of like the past 2 years, I've gotten really bad. You could read all the stuff. So like you could get like little hints of what's going to happen in Heroic Tales by going here. Register. Cool. It's a role playing forum, with a lot of interesting stuff. And then we got your campaign. So we got Tricks and Treats Volume 2. So I'm going to bring up your campaign. Oh, okay. I thought I did hit the wrong button. And I will share your campaign. Let's see, Tricks and Treats. There we go. And there we go. That's your campaign. And tell us about this.
Tricks and Treats Volume 2 is an anthology, a horror anthology. It's going to have 7 stories. Right now I'm only showing off 6 because I'm working on the 7th one. It's going to be 100 pages. So it's a big book.
Yeah. How much for 100 pages?
It's going to be $30.
Right. That's for 100 pages, man. Excuse me, but I'm eating a pretzel like the jerk.
Now you're good.
Yeah. So you've already did a successful campaign. I'm realizing now that that's an important thing to bring up. People realize that you're not some fly-by-night person. So you already ran a campaign, delivered a campaign, everybody got with it, and you were successful enough to run a second campaign. That's important.
That's right, yeah.
And for $10, you could get a digital book. For $20, you could get the digital 3-pack of all your stuff. $30, you could get the actual physical book. And right. I'm forgetting a variant cover.
Right.
Variant cover. And $55, you can get both. And what is the $60? This is everything, right?
$60 is a book and a commission sketch from my brother Justin, and then there's also a tier for sketch commission from me.
And I'm looking. How can I get Trick or Treat number 1?
You can only get it digitally right now. We sold out of the first volume.
Okay, but it's an anthology horror, so it's not like it's a continuation. So if I pick up on number 2, I'm not lost, right?
Right. Yeah. These are just isolated little stories, little vignettes, kind of like Twilight Zone.
Okay. Oh, I forgot. You got a trailer here, so let's play your trailer while I'm like all discombobulated.
You're good.
Go again. So, okay, so I have a bunch of questions now. First, we were talking on Saturday, and you
Yeah.
were telling me some of your influences with your horror comics. So first up, but I never got to ask this. I wanted to ask you, but you know how conversations go.
Right.
So, were you a kid that read comics?
Yeah.
What did you read? Were you always into horror? Were you superheroes? Were you into nurses? What was your comics of
My
choice?
very first comic book that I bought was G.I. Joe, actually. Then
You know,
from there, I jumped onto Amazing Spider-Man, so I got really into superhero stuff.
I'm so glad you said that because it's such a red flag to me when people are like, well, I don't remember the first comic, but I was always into. No, you weren't. Everybody remembers their first comic.
Yeah.
Everybody remembers their first comic. If you don't remember your first comic, you're hoodwinking everybody, including yourself.
Right.
So GI Joe. So
Yeah.
what was that? You got into the toys?
Yeah, well, I used to watch the cartoon when I was a kid, and I was never really into comic books, but I had a third grade teacher who had a spinner rack in the back.
Oh wow!
And so whenever we got done with our work early, if we were giving like a quiz or test, and we finished early, she was like, "You can go to the back and read. That's your reward." And so I was never into comic books, but I was like, I'll flip through one.
Yeah, it's better than doing another math test.
There you go. Yeah, so I went back there and I picked up, I think it was the Justice League, like International or something like that, and I was flipping through it, and there's all these colorful characters, and they all have these cool powers, and I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. It was kind of soap opera-ish, though. That's the one turnoff, for me personally. But she also had Spider-Man, so I picked up a Spider-Man book, and I was just drawn to that character. Yeah.
Talk about a soap opera. You can't get more soap opera than Spider-Man,
That's very true, yeah.
Yeah. So you got some early, but the first comic you bought was G.I. Joe.
Yeah, so I was in South Texas, and we had these grocery stores called H-E-B. And we walk in there, and they had like a spinner rack, so whenever my parents were out shopping groceries, I'd be like, can I go look at the books, look at the comics? And they're like, yeah, sure. So I was just looking through them because I had experienced them at school, and I instantly recognized G.I. Joe because I remember watching the cartoon. So I picked it up and I was like, hey, can I take this home? And they're like, yeah, sure.
Did you collect it, or you just casually bought comics?
I just casually bought that one, and I didn't really think about it again until I was in the 6th grade. My dad came to pick me up from school one day, and he had gone to the flea market with my mom, and so he's like, "Hey, I got you something," and it was like this pack. It had like 6 comic books in it, and it was Batman comics, and I think Superman, and so that's really when I started collecting.
Oh, okay, that's funny because when I was a kid, if you went to like a toy store or something like that, sometimes like a stationery store, they would have like a sealed bag of comics.
Yeah.
And there would be like 3 comics, and the one on the outside would be like Batman, and the one on the other side, you flip it over, it would be like the Justice League, something good, and then the one in the middle would be like Wendy.
Yeah.
Like they'd throw some garbage thing that nobody wanted just to get rid of it.
I can't tell you how many copies of NFL Super Pro I had because of that.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, there you go. That's funny. But you're right. Okay, yeah, I'm jumping around. You're writing this. You're not doing any of the art.
I'm doing some of the art. Yeah,
Oh,
I'm the colorist on all the book that needs part of the book that needs coloring.
Okay.
And I'm also the artist and writer on the first story that's on here.
Oh, that's right. Well, first off, I want to check out this image over here. Who drew this image?
This is done by Preston Acevedo.
I just love. First off, the werewolf, the sexy chick.
Right.
This purplish, like, I don't know. Everybody's gonna say Cthulhu, but
Right.
there's not really that many tentacles in Cthulhu. It's just like you can tell when people talk about Lovecraft but never read it. They bring up tentacles, with one story. And then this monster over here, I really, really like.
Yeah.
This is so cool. This is such a great image. But I'm scrolling down here. So this is the one you drew?
Yeah, I drew this one and wrote it.
That is cool. I like this. It's very subtle art. You didn't go. I mean, very subtle coloring. I think like a rookie mistake is colorists just coloring every square inch a different color to show off their skills. No,
Right.
that is. But yeah, there you go. Good storytelling. as I'm scrolling through, I'm not reading it, but I can see what's going on. And then this this is who drew this? This isn't your brother, is it?
No, no, this is drawn by Mario Williams. He's a friend of mine from here in Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Okay.
And
Okay.
I did the colors. Keith Gleason did the letters, and he did an awesome job with those letters.
Okay. Okay. Keith Gleason. Yeah, he does a lot. He does lettering for a bunch of people, right?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, he did. He has a book called. Well, he did have a book called Alterna called Mighty Mascots.
Oh, that's where I recognize the name. Okay,
Yeah.
Mighty Mascot.
Yeah.
Got the Mighty Mascots. Okay. That's where I recognize the name. It was killing me that I couldn't remember. So let me ask you then, what got you started? Why a horror book? You know, comics aren't really known as a horror genre. You know.
No, you're right, and especially anthologies. Like people aren't drawn to anthologies. But my brother and I were both really into Lovecraft, like back around 2017 or so. And so we decided, hey, wouldn't it be cool if we made a comic book kind of based, on these Lovecraft stories that we've been reading and talking about. And so we tried writing the story, like we were going to do like this long series, and we're just like, you know what? We tried and we tried and we tried it for like a year, and we're like, it never happened. We couldn't do it, so we're like, let's start small. So we started with small stories, short stories, like 8-10 pages. And so that kind of became volume 1 of Tricks and Treats, which is a collection of like 6 or 7 stories that we did.
Okay. So you are. What is your favorite Lovecraft story? I got to ask you.
Oh man, there's so many good ones.
Yeah.
Probably the lesser known one that I really like is The Festival.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah.
Yeah.
So in the festival, the guy stumbles upon like a joyous festival, and then something comes, and they argue. Like, I was on a message board back. I'm talking like the 2005 or so. I've always been of the opinion it's a Bayaki that comes down, and the cultist gets on it and flies away. What do you think? Because it's typical Lovecraft. They never really say what happens at the end of the festival.
Right. You just know it's horrific and undescribable. Just
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that story because the guy comes home for Christmas. Basically, he's kind of coming to visit a family that he's never had any kind of interaction with. Like these are his ancestors, and he's coming to the town. And he's greeted by a man with a mask that's supposed to be like his grandfather, and he doesn't speak a word. And then like the whole town kind of goes off into this temple, and it's just creepy imagery. I love that story.
I don't know why can't I ever think of her name, but she wrote. They call it the Borden Files, like Lizzie Borden, and I think there's 2 books of them. One of them, one of like Oakwood and whatever. I forget the other one. But it's Lizzie Borden, and it turns out that she's not crazy. She did kill her parents, but it's because her parents were turning into deep ones.
Oh, that sounds cool.
So, it was really good. And then the second book is years later. She's like an older lady, and she's helping somebody else, like like pretty much the only person who believes her that there are deep ones. And it turns out there's like a whole church of them. And
wow.
I just remember there was this one scene where they go into the basement of the church and there's no light, so it's pitch dark, and she's there. The main 2 characters are in this basement, and they could hear the people praying, and they could smell something, and they could hear it huffing as it's moving, but you never know what the hell it is. That kind of stuff,
Yeah.
Your imagination fills in all the blanks. To me, that's Lovecraft. So when people talk about tentacles, I'm just like, he never said tentacles. If you're saying tentacles, that's on you. There's only one. Is the Call of Cthulhu.
Right. Exactly.
I'm reaching over here. Of course, I just rearranged everything. But I've been collecting creepy and eerie because I never was into horror comics growing up. To me, comics was always superheroes. I like superheroes. And somebody said to me, comic books can't scare you, so they're a bad medium for horror. And I could think of two scenes in comics that literally scared me. Scared me. And both of them, now that I think about it, both of them were written by Garth Ennis. So there you go.
Oh wow.
But one of them, did you ever read Preacher?
I never did. No.
And Preacher, they made a really weird TV show about it that totally missed the point of the comic. But in Preacher, Jesse Custer is a preacher from Texas, and the whole family's preachers, but they're not religious. It's just a job to them, and he doesn't want to do it. But he's charismatic, and then through crazy circumstances, he gets this like angelic force trapped inside of his body. So they won him because when he speaks with authority, people listen. So donate money. Everybody donates money. Blah blah. So the family's after him because he doesn't want to be a preacher anymore. He wants to run off with Tulip. But when he's a little kid, they're a racist, white supremacist family that you always see. He made friends with this little black kid, and that was his best friend. And the family was like, "You can't be friends with him. You can't be friends." He's like, so he sneak it off to play with his friend. He's a little kid, and then they punish him, and the punishment was, you just see him. He's in a coffin, and he's like, you have to lay there for 3 days in the coffin, and there's just like an air tube,
Oh, wow.
and then you can see like water dripping. So and then they pull back, and he's underwater. Like, oh my God. And then they pull back, and the body of his friend is on top. When you turn the page, I was like, it made me jump. It was so freaking scary.
Yeah.
And then the second scary was, it was also a preacher. There you go. Later on, they're trying to catch him. The Grail, the society's trying to catch him because of this angelic force. And somebody already counted Jesse. That person's in the hospital with a broken neck, so he has no feeling from his neck down. And the leader of the Grail is just like, look at me. So he turns the guy's head, so he's looking at, and he's holding his chin. And meanwhile, there's another guy on the other side of him. And he goes, what's the other guy doing? He goes, never mind the other guy. The other guy's Spetsnaz. And he starts talking about Spetsnaz. He goes, the Spetsnaz, Russian Spetsnaz, they dropped someplace in Siberia, and they have 6 weeks to make it back to the state. And, whatever they do to survive, if they kill people and rob and whatever, that's what they do on this particular. They have total carte blanche to do what's necessary to survive. Because if we drop them in Afghanistan or whatever, there's no rules. They got to survive. So he goes, some of them have been cannibals, some of them died in the mission, some of them encountered nothing, but this is blah blah blah. So he's like, why are you telling me this? He goes, because I want you to tell me where I can find Jesse Custer. Long story short, the guy's like, what's the other guy doing? And he turns the head, and the Spetsnaz guy is literally eating him.
Oh, man.
And you can just see the flesh, but the guy's paralyzed, so he doesn't. And you turn the page, the reveal, and I was like, ah! So yeah, comics can scare you, which brings us back to you doing horror. So, what made you think, again, comics? I just realized I was going to say something that's wrong. There's always been horror comics, creepy, and eerie. Do you read any of those? As I long-winded.
I really didn't. Not growing up. I've got a collection back there of EC comics that I started collecting now that I'm older. And I'm able to appreciate them more, and don't have a mom telling me don't buy those. But yeah, it's not something I was really into as a kid, but as an adult, I really appreciate it. Love the genre.
Yeah. Who else what other horror writers do you like besides Lovecraft?
I wouldn't consider them horror writers, but I was really into Anne Rice and Stephen King growing up when I was in college.
I never read Stephen King, but I read all the Vampire Chronicles. Have you read those?
Yes. Yeah.
Are you all caught up?
I'm trying to remember what the last one was. I don't think so, because I think she wrote a couple more before she passed that I didn't.
Yeah, the last one, I think I read the last one was Prince Lestat and the Kingdom of Atlantis.
Okay, no, I did not read that.
Oh my God!
Is it good?
It's bad science fiction. It devolved into bad science fiction.
Oh no!
She explains everything, to the point where they're not even vampires anymore. They're like space aliens kind of thing.
That's too bad.
Yeah, it just ruined it.
Well, I'm glad I did read those then.
Yeah.
They remain unspoiled in my mind.
Yeah.
I liked Servant of the Bones. Did you read that one?
No. Which one is that? Is that the mummy one?
Yeah, it's like a genie spirit that's trapped in the bones.
I didn't read that one. There's one character, Ramses, I think, and he shows up in a couple of the Lestat books. And the very first time was in the second book. The first book was Interview with the Vampire. Then the second book was Lestat.
Vampire Lestat, yeah.
Yeah. But he's on stage, and Lestat is performing, and he just sees a face in the crowd staring at him. And I just remember that scene scared me. That was a
Yeah.
really scary scene. And and Lestat got scared. That's what scared me, is because Lestat's so arrogant, and he got
Right.
scared. He was facing the crowd, and he knew it wasn't a vampire, but it was old. So like I always thought that was like Ramsey's. She has like another series about the mummy, right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, and then my friend has been trying to get me to read the Mayfair Witches, which I never read. But I like the early Anne Rice stuff. But
Yeah.
like I said, once you learned about this other planet and these bird aliens that came, and
That sucks.
yeah, I didn't like Fabrizio says I couldn't get into Rice. I tried. The vampires came across like they were two musical theaters. Yes,
Yeah. Yeah.
yes,
I
I
can see
like
that.
Mike Mignola. He created that series, The Strand. Did you watch that? Did anybody Fabrizio?
No, I never did.
I never watched it, but I liked what he said. That he created that because he said vampires are monsters and monsters are scary.
Yeah.
So I'll bring this back up later when we're talking now. But and I appreciate that. So again, my comic, I have a comic book called Heroic Tales, and sooner or later I'm going to get to vampires.
Nice.
And I will tell you that you don't want to be a vampire, and you don't want to be around vampires, and vampires are terrifying and uncomfortable. I'll leave it at that right now. I had a friend of mine, my friend Elena. She's not into comics or anything like that. She proofread my vampire story, and she said that was the most. She said it had the most disturbing sex scene ever written in the history of literature, which I took as a good sign because she called it literature. So I'm a big fan of scary, horrible monsters. Like I liked Anne Rice for the fake history and all the detail, but I think at some point she went out of her way to make the vampires too. Like, you shouldn't want to be a vampire. The way I think of, you don't want to be a vampire. Even the vampires don't want to be vampires. If my vampires could figure out how to stop being vampires, they would do it in a heartbeat, even if it meant the mortal life, because being a vampire is terrifying. Kevin just brought up 30 Days of Night is my favorite vampire movie.
I like that one. I like the way they portrayed them. Those guys were scary.
Yes, they were scary. They were monsters. They were horrific. There was nothing romantic about it. I like when they bit their victims. They tore at them. They had blood down their shirt. These were monsters.
Yeah, and then speaking of that old language too, that was really a nice touch.
Yeah, so like old Romanian, like that Prince Dracula would have spoken.
Right. Yeah.
Oh God, I was just joking. So let's bring back your campaign because we were talking. I gotta get the right. So there's a couple of images that I wanted to look at. There's one image that I really like, but this is your art.
Yes, this is my art.
This is your. I wish I could draw. I practiced. You see, these look like scary vampires. These don't look like romantic, art painters vampires. Now, all your stories, are they set in the same world? Is there like a continuity and
These first two stories kind of are, because I have this whole story that I want to do in the future, not anytime soon, but those two stories kind of are connected in the same universe.
See, now this I really, really like, because we talked already, so I know about this.
Yeah.
This is, nice couple wanders into a town they shouldn't be in, and I love that. That's one of my favorite tropes. Is like this. We talk about Lovecraft. Like the shadow over Innsmouth. Like the people in Innsmouth, they don't want you. They don't want to kill you. They don't want to have anything to do with you. As a matter of fact, they make it as difficult as possible to get to Innsmouth, and then stupid idiots come there and they're like, dude, now we got to get rid of you. Like we're trying to just worship these unholy monsters from beneath the sea with minding their own business. But that's what these people do. They stumble, and I love that. How many horror movies start with like people going to like the Appalachians and meet some hillbilly family?
Yeah.
But I love this. This is like almost looks like the Church of Starry Wisdom or something.
Exactly. That's what we're going for. Yeah.
Yeah. But this I like. The ceremony begins. Dun dun dun. Yeah. And there's one image that I really, really like. I'm searching for. Yeah, there it is.
Yeah.
I love this. I love that right there. That I don't even know what to call it. It's it. You know, we got this deer guy with the antlers, and then this is that machine sentient, or is it like just like some sort of? Well, don't tell me. Don't tell me. No,
All right. Okay. Yeah.
don't tell me. But I love this image. Like, I don't know. It's very like, I'm thinking of, and then this printing I really like with the dot matrix.
Right. Yeah, that was a lot of fun to do.
In the flat colors.
Yeah.
This is written by your brother. Oh, written and drawn by your brother.
Right. Yeah.
Cool. Are you guys? What's the age difference?
He's 7 years younger than I am.
7 years?
Yeah.
Okay, so is he into comics, like, or like, do you have similar hobbies or anything? 7 years is a big difference.
No, yeah, we both love to draw. We both are into art, and we both love comic books. Yeah, we talk like once a week, and we're always talking about what we're going to do next with our projects.
We had a vampire story set in the 70s. The gang members took blue heroin and became vampires.
Interesting.
See, with my comic, I have a horror western that I think I want to introduce, but and then later on, I think I'm going to set like a story set. I'm giving away too much. I'm just going to be quiet. I'm just going to be quiet. John, Kev. So Kevin's my old roommate from Albuquerque. He's been watching my channels. And where am I? I'm trying to get to this. So this is watercolor painted by your brother.
Yeah. Yeah, he did this like right after college back in 2015, and self-published it, and we kind of revised it, tightened things up as far as the writing goes.
This image I love.
Yeah, I love that painting too.
Yeah. There's something about the old diving bell. So without reading this, what is this set like 1918 around there?
Something like that. I think it says at the first page.
Yeah, because you don't see people. Oh, 1912. Okay.
1912. Yeah.
Yeah, Howard Phillips. There's a familiar name.
Yep.
So let's see. When is this? My mouse is dying. Of course it is. Oh, you got 38 days left to go.
Yep.
Oh, you hit your goal. Okay, cool.
Yeah. We just hit it last night. So excited
good,
about that.
Good. Yeah, that's why I wanted to have you on so quick. I wanted you to hit your goal. Yeah. And you're going to be fulfilling this yourself, I assume.
Yeah. I'll be shipping it out from here.
Not your brother. Tell your brother to do some work.
Well, he did most of the heavy lifting on this book. Yeah, he did most of the artwork and writing.
Oh yes. Okay. Kevin is reminding us we used to play. My standard question that I always ask people, what like, were you a comic book kid? And I always ask, were you a role player? So before I get into Kevin's comment, do you have a role play? I forget if we talked about
it. Not much. I do remember like some kids playing Dungeons and Dragons and invited me to play with them, and they like made a character for me, but I never actually like hung out with them to play. We would always just talk on the school bus, but then like once we were out of the school bus, we never like got together. I was more of a loner.
Because I was living in a house, and I at this point I had a group in New York. I grew up in New York, and we played Dungeons and Dragons, and then we played Village Vigilantes, and I never went back to Dungeons and Dragons. And then in 1993, I moved to Albuquerque, and I didn't really know anybody, and I'm living in a house, and nobody in my house played Dungeons and Dragons. And I saw Kevin walking down the street. I literally didn't know him. I just saw a guy, and somebody was like, "Yeah, this guy's. I think he has like role playing books in his hand." I was like, "Really?" So I kind of just waited for him, and I realized that I think it was like Sundays or something like that. He went to the house across the street. So I looked, and he had Vampire the Masquerade.
Oh, cool.
It's a role playing game where you pretend you're vampire. So I ran across the street, introduced myself, and pretty much invited myself into that game. And this is what Kevin's talking about. My first vampire had a club foot. Like you could take extra weaknesses for extra bonus points, stuff like that. Kevin, that's a funny detail to remember, because I never would have remembered that again.
That's awesome.
And I bought the books. We learned. I learned how to play it. Next thing you know, I'm running a vampire story, and then I infiltrated and introduced my superhero role playing game. And they weren't too keen on playing flat out superheroes, so I had to turn it to a sci-fi thing. So it was set like 100 years in the future, and they were like superheroes, but like sci-fi space explorers at the same time. So almost like the Legion of Superheroes. And then when I came back to New York, I had another group, my original group, and then we played in the same universe but set in the present day. So Kevin is in the future, and I'm such a lunatic. All my continuity has to. So if you go to my website that I talked about right here, you could see what I'm talking about. Kevin, you could go here and see all the stories that you missed out. And I refer to some of Kevin's. I don't think Kevin's stories made it into this. Pity Ma is laughing at me because I always ask people about role playing games. There's somebody driving down the hallway. They're talking about the noise.
Oh yeah, my computer.
10-4, good book. That's what I said when we first put it up. I said, was the garbage man right outside your window? White Wolf made some great games. I'm gonna have to hunt down. Yeah, White Wolf made They made Vampire the Masquerade. They made Werewolf the Rage or the Beckoning or something like that. Then they made Mage the Ascension. They all had noun the adjective,
Right.
Then they had a superhero version called Aberrant. Huh. That my friend, we all took one system and everybody started to run their own game. But Travis thought that was going to run it, but we never actually played. Werewolf the Apocalypse. That's right. That's right. So we played a werewolf group at one point. We played but there was one, Ellie Skibidee Rizzler. There was one about fairies that I saw in the bookstore. I just didn't have enough money at the particular moment, and I never saw it again. Do you know what was it a white wolf? Because everybody's laughing at me, but fairies and the fae, that's always been I love horror and stuff like that. But when it comes to fairy stuff, not so much elves, even though elves and fairy are the same thing, but fairies,
right,
fairy lore. I have a big idea for fairy stuff in my superhero game. Not particularly elves, because then that would make it too much Tolkien.
Right. That's
there's one about ghosts and spirits too. Yes. And they're all like Ice Cream Man, the Deliverer. All those White Wolf. And it's funny because my friend Jeff, he read all my vampire books, read cover to cover, and it was like, how do you play them? You still don't know how to play even after you read the games. But,
right.
There you go. Oh, I already said this comment. So, I talk a lot. I'm sorry.
You're good.
We're supposed to talk about your campaign.
No, talking about phase. There was a Netflix show. It was called Something on Mr. Strange. I can't remember what the title was exactly, but that was a really good show. It was about fairies. I'd never seen fairies in that way.
Oh, I because I'm probably issue 4 of Heroic Tales. Again, I'm giving away. You're not going to realize but it's going to introduce fairies. And I've been doing a lot of research on fairies, and here's a little hint. But prior, from 1990 and earlier, people were terrified of fairies, fairy abductions. We all heard the stories of the fairies, the babies replaced with the changeling and things like that, which is a really sad way. There's a condition where a baby's born horribly deformed, and people and they don't last too long. There's just no way to until modern times. So it was just that's not my baby. That's a fairy. My kid's living in fairyland. I guess it was a mental cope, but people were terrified. And then around the 40s, especially after the Roswell crash, all the fairy stuff got converted to aliens. And then, but think about little green men with big eyes abducting people. So I'm giving away too much, but that's where I'm going in my comic book with fairies.
Nice.
Yeah, I got fae in my fantasy world. Yeah. Iceland fae. My wife and I went to Iceland. and they do when they don't. It's funny because they always talk about, oh yeah, they got highways and they'll curve the highway because local law will see like there's a stone where there's a ferry. That sounds all impressive, but they only got one main road. You know what I mean? So
Right.
one main road that was built in the 13. They're making it sound like they're still doing it. No, but that
Right.
main road is no joke. 800 years old. It was built 800 years ago. But
Wow.
yeah. Again, I talk too much. Anything you want?
Oh, you're good, man. You're fine.
I've been chugging coffee because of this car accident.
Yeah.
I'm not working, and when I don't work, I just wake up when I feel like, and I sleep when I want. So my sleep schedule. So I chug so much coffee just to stay awake through this because my sleep schedule is messed up. Love fairies. You're a bit of a fairy yourself. I think you do Elf Cliff. Oh, that's a good.
Oh, that'd be cool.
Do you know what he's talking about? Two Beards.
Yeah. It's you and Kelsey, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And by the way, I haven't heard from Kelsey. If anybody knows anything, Kelsey, my wife was actually looking up his phone number because she's getting concerned. But I told her when Kelsey's in work mode, he doesn't respond. Kelsey literally doesn't even have a telephone, so he'll get in touch with me when he wants to get in touch with me. I'm not worried because I know that about the guy. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
I wish you back. Yeah, Pity Ma. Yeah, that would have been fun. You know what I mean? And okay, let's talk about you for a second before we make it about me. Like I always. You got a young face. I'm gonna. How old are you, if you don't mind? You don't have to.
I'm 44.
Okay, I was gonna say 38. Okay, but I was about to say 38. Then you're gonna say 26, and then you get. But so you're significantly younger than me. When you were in high school, was this nerdy stuff cool? Was it acceptable, or were we still like me? You kept this stuff quiet.
There was a special group of kids that liked this stuff, and we were not the cool kids. I'll just say that.
Right. I always tell the story, like I was working at a comic book store in high school, and a lot of times people would come in, and as they were talking, they were sticking the comics down their shirt because they couldn't even bring it home because their parents didn't want them to have comics. You know what I mean? There was this one girl that would come in, and it was just understood. She bought her comics, she went into the bathroom, and she came out, and she would undo her shirt, put the comics in her bra strap and everything like that, because she had to smuggle them in her house. You know what I mean?
Wow,
we didn't make a big deal out of it. She was kind of an odd girl, you know what I mean? But so for those of you today, you youngins today, you don't know how good you got it, because back then you got teased by, my parents were good because I couldn't read. So when they saw me reading comics, my mother actually said, he's reading, he's doing good school.
Right.
But I hid it from my friends. You hid Dungeons and Dragons. Now, I think the pendulum has swung so much the other way that like people who aren't really interested in it are just doing it because they think it's cool, and they're kind of ruining it. Yeah. But get back to this. I was in a bar after college, so I'm like 26, and there was this hot girl that I remember specifically. I was a junior year, and me and a buddy was swapping records. I had Dead Kennedy's records. I was trading him with Dead Kennedy's records. He was trading me GBH, and she goes, "You listen to that kind of music?" And I just looked at her. I said, "What is it your business?" You know what I mean? Like, am I making fun of you because she had like, I still can't stand Bruce Springsteen, but she had Bruce Springsteen. I'm like, what's it your business? I'm not making fun of you. Why are you bothering me? And I was like annoyed, but I saw that girl in a bar, and she was like, "Oh my God, John!" And she waved me over, and she was still gorgeous. So we're talking, and she's like, "John always listens to the coolest music." He was like, "Oh God." Now, any normal, I was single. I need to put this in proper context. I was single. I had a few drinks. My buddy Terry, who's the biggest dog in the world, he's like, "Wow, John, look at this girl." So he's trying to be my wingman. But I am such a petty person that I was just like, "Why are you pretending to be my friend?" And I told her that story. I said, "You made fun of me," and like in front of all the friends. They were like, "Wow." And I walked away. Terry was like, "Man, you did that the absolute wrong way." She was all into you. I can't. I'm not stubborn. I'm not stubborn.
Right.
Yes, Kelsey doesn't have a phone. So Pity Ma, yeah, maybe it would have been nice to have a friend. But at the same time, I was playing football. But I was so deathly afraid of my D&D friends and my football friends. Like my D&D friends knew about my football friends. This is mean when I say this, but my football friends didn't know about my D&D friends until they did. and then I realized it wasn't a big deal. Yeah, we were nerds with a badass cover up. That, yeah.
Yeah.
Part of me wishes it was underground again because it was, we had we had better comics, we had better D&D, we had,
Yeah.
Wow, Kevin, I used to ride my bike 23 miles to get comics 2 times. Oh, you used to go to
Wow.
Don's. Don's is my girlfriend at the time. Her father owned Don's. I met her, and we dated for a year. So I dated the woman who was a chef and owned a comic book store. So,
Cool.
so Kevin, is Don still around? Is Don still in business? Is Liz still working? I can't imagine Don's still around. He was ancient back then. So, but did you regularly go to the comic store? Did you have a regular haunt that you would go to?
There was a comic book shop in the mall, and so like every Sunday after church, we'd go to the mall to eat or just walk around, and that's the first place I would go to, straight to the comic book shop.
What were your regulars? You already said Spider-Man.
Yeah, I was really into Amazing Spider-Man. That was my favorite book.
Was this like the McFarlane times?
This was Mark Bagley. This was around 92, 93, somewhere around there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Those were good. Yeah, those are really good.
Yeah,
So you were a Marvel guy, right?
I was. Yeah.
Yeah, I was a Marvel guy from like I usually say 74 is when I started collecting comics. I wouldn't my friend Mike, he was a DC guy. I mean, he was both, but I was like, DC is for babies. When you're a little kid, you read DC, and then you grow up to read Marvel. But I didn't know about the war comics. I didn't know about the horror comics.
Yeah.
They were some good comics, but the superhero line at DC was kind of baby stuff. If you ask me. I used to go to this guy in Seaford, Long Island. He smoked in the shop while watching baseball games all the time. Ellie, are you a Long Island? Are you talking about half the store was a comic book store, the other half sold knives? Are we talking about the same guy? Yeah, that store just recently closed. Why can't I think of the name of it? But yeah, skip it. Because Seaford, I used to go there because you go there, you get your. I just got into a car accident. Are you still in Long Island? If you're still in Long Island, play some role-playing games with us. Play some board game. But I bought my samurai swords on top of my fridge at that place in Seaford.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it was off Sunrise. I would go there. I would get my comics, and then you couldn't make a U-turn because I lived in Baldwin, so you'd have to leave the parking lot. But it was on the highway, so you had to make a right until you could get to a light and then turn around.
Oh, okay.
But just before you turned around, there was a Burger King, so I had no choice but to go to the Burger King and eat my Burger King, read my comics.
Whoppers and comics, not that.
Oh, you're in Babylon. I'm by Smithtown. We're not too far away. There you go. Yep. And Billy Tucci's right by me too.
Oh, nice.
Hi, chat. Hi, Gray Wolf. Where you said you're in Tennessee?
No, I'm in Oklahoma.
Oklahoma. Yeah. That's funny. That's the spot. Yeah. What is the name of that place? It's gonna drive me nuts. But there was the Bladesman was half of it, and the other half was the comic book store. And it was well lit, but it was very narrow. And the guy would sit there and smoke. Yeah. That's funny. There was a lot of comic book stores growing up. I worked in a place called the Incredible Pulp. My buddy Larry ran it, and it was, as far as I know, I think it was the oldest comic book store, and it shut down in I think before 2000, and then Cosmic Comics survived it. And that became the oldest. But this has nothing to do with your comic, and I'm down.
Oh, you're good. What was your favorite Lovecraft story?
Oh, okay, my favorite Lovecraft story. It's funny because I'm an electrician. I do construction, and a lot of the times you do a lot of repetition. So you're figuring out how to do it, and then once you do it, you literally do it 4,000 times because you got to splice this. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I would put in my headphones, and I just got the complete Lovecraft audio books.
Oh,
And,
nice.
so I don't say that it's one of my pet peeves when people are like, yeah, read Lovecraft. It's like, no, you're not. You're listening to the audio. So I just did an audio of all Lovecraft, and it was really good because having somebody else read it to me, it really, and then doing this repetition stuff at work, and so I could just be by myself and focus it. But it used to be Pickman's model. Used to be my favorite, but um, now I'm blanking on the name of the stuff. But Pickman's model, because I really liked the stuff that bored me while I was reading, was the explanation of all the architecture and
Oh yeah.
Old Boston, when he's talking about how he couldn't figure out where it was but to have somebody read that to me, oh my God, I loved it. I absolutely loved it. But the other and now that I read is the same one that Fabrizio was just talking about, the picture in the house.
Okay.
Do you know that story?
Sounds familiar.
It's the guy. He's just in the woods. I forget why he's in the woods, but as he's in the woods, this is just another thing that's always been fascinating me. Just finding a house in the woods. Just you think you're in bear country. You're all by yourself, and not just a log cabin, but a complete like Victorian house. But that's what this guy finds. It's raining. He goes and he knocks. The door's open, and he goes in, and he just sits down, out of the rain. And he's like, if somebody lives here, they're going to be pissed off. So he's like on guard, like. Obviously, this guy got to have a shotgun, so he's trying to, and finds there's a pedestal with the book on it, and it's a real book, and I can't remember the name of the book, but there's a picture of an African tribe engaged in cannibalism. I'm not going to go into the details, but he's looking and he's repulsed. And the funny thing is, you could look up this photograph. It really does exist. So Lovecraft must have saw this, wrote a story about it, and as he's reading. The guy comes in. He's like, fascinating picture. It turns out that this guy was watching. He was upstairs sleeping. He came down, and the guy's like smiling, creepily, talking to him. And the guy's like asking him questions, and he's coming at him from different angles. Oh, here you go. Fabrizio is giving me Regnum Congo is the book. Yeah. And the guy's like implying that he's really, really old. Like he's an old man, but like maybe he's 200 or 300 years old, and the reason why he's old is because he's a cannibal.
No.
You know what I mean? And he's like, yeah, And then as he's explaining to him, like he's like basically like, I'm so glad you stumbled in here because I'm gonna, he's not saying it, but you get the feel like this guy is gonna eat this. And then as he's talking, whoop, he thinks, what? Something just dripped from the roof, and he looks up and there's a stain, and blood is dripping on.
No.
And that's the end of the story. I love that freaking story.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's a good story. But Pickman's model, I loved. There's so many that I kind of forgot about them. But hearing them read to you is so much different than reading. I'm a big Lovecraft fan. Fourth Ward Comics in Smithtown is my favorite, but I haven't been there. Where do you go? Do you still get comics? Skibby DD's Razor? Because my buddy Mark, he lives in South Jersey. He comes up like once a year, and like usually, because we're both construction workers, if we're both on furlough, he'll come up and we'll spend like a day hitting all of the comic book stores. And Fourth World, last time we went there, so it must have been like 7 months ago, and I was really disappointed by the back issue. It's just slim pickings. So I was like, I got embarrassed. So I got on my phone, and this was while I was living in this house, and I found a place. Oh my God! Now I'm gonna drive me nuts. I can't remember the name of the comic book store, but it's a comic book store not too far down the road, maybe 3 miles. You cross the LIE right where I crashed, and then you go for another block, and it is the most awesome back issue. They have everything, everything you could ever imagine, and in high quality. Like they'll have like Amazing Fantasy 15, like it's that kind of comic book store.
Wow.
To the point where you're overwhelmed, and everywhere and you ask any question about, I think I know about comic book. Like as you ask the question, this guy's giving you an answer, that guy's, it's just, it's like I know as soon as I turn off the video, I'm going to remember the name of the store. There's the Lovecraft manga. It's illustrated really well. Yeah. Did you read Alan Moore's Providence.
I've heard of it.
You read
I've
it.
never read it.
Yeah, I got it over. I keep forgetting about it. It's in my back issue bins. I keep forgetting about it until right now, and then I got to go get it.
Yeah,
Okay, LBB Give the Easy Grizzlies got to go. You only buy crowdfunded. I buy crowdfunded. I still buy mainstream stuff, but I challenge myself every month to get less and less. I'm actually down to 16 comics I ordered this. I get them from Discount Comic Book Service.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, because the places by me only have Marvel and DC, and I don't get anything Marvel and DC. Comics with Jose. Glad to see you, John. Hope you're feeling well. Thank you. Everybody's been so nice. Everybody's been reaching out. I really, really appreciate it. I've been burning up your time talking about my nonsense.
No, you're fine, John.
So, anything that I should have said but I didn't? Anything you want to say?
No, just back the book. If you're into horror, if you like Twilight Zone, if you like Night Gallery, if you like those kinds of TV shows, give this a chance. I think you'll like this book.
Yes, that's why I wanted to ask you. What's your favorite Twilight Zone?
Long Distance Call was one of my favorite episodes.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
I got Netflix, and they just recently put all the Twilight Zone. So I started watching from the beginning in chronological order. There's a lot of bad Twilight Zone that I either never saw before or forgot about.
Yeah. Yeah, my wife, she always thinks that Twilight Zone's like they're all scary episodes. And I was like, no, some of them are kind of goofy, actually. Like some of them are not very scary.
Right. There's one that I just watched with Jack Klugman. He's a gambler and he gambles too much, and then yeah, and it's like an hour. It's like a movie. I'm like, come on. And then there was one with Martin Landau. I think it's Martin Landau's first performance. He's like a kid. He must be like 17 years old. And he's so striking looking. He looks like a vampire with those big eyebrows. And he's a cowboy, and another guy can't die. But I'm like, wait for it's like supernatural, but it's not particularly scary. And I've never seen him before. So I got to get. And it's funny. My wife was like, I don't like scary stuff. And like, she was like, this isn't scary. But like,
right, yeah.
They're like morality tales.
Exactly, yeah.
I like the Argo comics. Oh, this Dan, he another guy from the comic store from Long Island. I like the rare happy endings in the radio episode. Yeah, there was a few, but everybody remembers the, like To Serve Man. Like everybody remembers the same 10 episodes, and the most memorable Twilight Zones weren't written by Rod Sterling. I can't remember the other guy's name, but Rod Sterling wrote like morality tales, and the other guy wrote true horror.
Yeah.
Yep. I got to ask you this before anybody backs. Are these all ages, or are they R-rated? What would you say?
I would say PG-13.
Kind of developed a reputation as an all ages guy, so I'd hate to
Right. No, I would say PG-13. I would say if your kid's 13 and up, they can handle this. If they can handle Stranger Things, I think they'd be fine.
Okay, that's good. Yeah. That's good.
Yeah. Yeah, there's no sex, not a whole lot. There's no cussing. It's just just stories to make you think, I guess.
Okay, cool. Again, I got no problems with that, but I'm going to make a non-safe for work comic, but it's going to be with alarms on it because I don't want I got here on time, and then I bought this for my kid, and there's the most disturbing sex vampire scene ever in literature.
You
said literature. Yeah, there's a lot of Twilight Zone episodes. Jeez, how long? It lasted like 10 years, weekly.
Oh, was it, I'm trying to remember, like 6 seasons, something like that?
Oh, that's it? That's it? And then I remember there was hour episodes, and then there was half-hour episodes. Like
there was one season where they did hour-long episodes.
Yeah. Sim Inkslayer, good to see you. I love seeing new names. Love seeing new names.
Yeah, the Howling Man's another good episode. Have you seen that one?
Which one's that?
There's this guy that's kind of backpacking through Europe, and he goes to this monastery because it's raining outside, and they let him in to get out of the rain, and they've got these doors off to the side, and he hears this man howling like just "Ow!" So he goes to check it out, and there's a man that's locked up in there, and he wants to like let him out, but the priests are like, it's kind of like an abbey or something, and so that like the priests come over, they grab him, they're like, don't let him out. And after he kind of like wants to ignore their warnings, they finally bring him in, and they tell him, look, this guy is not who you think he is. He's actually the devil. He's evil. And so we've got him locked up. And so after he has that conversation with them, now he thinks they're crazy.
Okay.
So he goes and he lets the man out, and the man changes into the devil. And so then the story the story fast forwards to present day, and this guy is telling his mate like the same story, that he just lived through. And he's like, now I've got this man locked up in the closet. Don't let him out. I need to go call brother so and so to handle him. And don't believe anything he says. He's lying to you. He's the devil. And he leaves. And of course, the lady walks towards the door to let him out. Yeah. And that's how the episode ends.
Yeah. Yeah. I've never seen. There's so many Twilight Zone. He said that there's 5 seasons.
Okay, 5 seasons.
The 5th season was our episodes, but 5 seasons and like 50 episodes per season. Yeah. There's so many I didn't see. So many I probably won't remember until I watch again.
Yeah. That's a great show.
So the 4th season was our episodes, then it went back to half hour. That's odd.
Yeah.
Tell people, but they always let them out of my closet. Twilight Zone, Passage of the Trumpet, The Game of Pool, Praise of Pip. Yes, which one is that? The man played the guardian of the devil, and the Howling Man was played by John Carradine, the actor who played. Yeah,
yes, that's who it was. Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of big actors in Twilight Zone. And then there was the Night Gallery. What did that last? 1 season, and it was in color.
Yeah, might have been 2, but maybe it was just 1. Yeah, it was very short-lived.
What about The Outer Limits? Did you watch that?
I just started watching The Outer Limits probably about 6 months ago. Every once in a while, I'll pick up an episode, like the old black and white one. Yeah.
You know what? Apropos of nothing, but I started watching Space 1999. That is terrible. It is absolutely, but I'm too stubborn. I gotta watch it. I say to my wife, I'm gonna go watch Space 19. She goes, okay, I'll wake you up in an hour, because it is. If you can't sleep, put on Space 1999. It is the worst science fiction. Sorry, Graham Nolan. Sorry, Josh Howard. They love it. It is terrible. It's so bad. The fuel ammo blows up in the moon, and the moon leaves Earth's orbit. Huh. But it's racing through the galaxy at faster than light speeds. It's just bad science fiction. The Brits don't know. Brits don't understand. The Brits, because it's a BBC production. I didn't know that.
Oh, okay.
The British go right to science fantasy. They go right to science fantasy. They never do science. And now I got comments. People, I guess they don't like that album. Tales from the Crypt was awesome, especially the movie. Space 1999 was very slow. Not a show, but everybody. Yeah.
Forbidden Planet. Awesome. That's a great movie. Yeah.
Space 1999 had great sets. I love the sets, and I love the Eagles, the ships. Really cool. But I challenge you to watch it.
Was that a movie or a show?
It was a series. It lasted 2 seasons with Mark Landau and his wife. I can't think of her name. She played the doctor, and boy, she's a plank of wood. She is just like so. She's like a charisma back. Wow. Yes, that was a good one too. The Shadow Bed, the Howling Hour, the whole collection. I always tell myself I'm gonna rewatch all the Twilight Zone, and here we'll end up on this because I have a comic book team up at 8:30.
All right.
And I gotta eat my dinner now. So I'll bring up your campaign one last time. And anything that I forget to say?
No, I think we're good.
Excuse me.
Thank you, John, for having me on. I appreciate
this. I enjoyed talking to you on Saturday. You're writing horror anthology comics. You're drawing some of them. Your brother's drawing some of them. This Preston, I'm sure I'm going to say his name wrong. Preston Everson. I seen his artwork on a lot of stuff. Like this image is just phenomenal.
Yeah, I love it.
And again, you already had a campaign before, so a few people have told me flat out, I like you. Your book looks good, but until I see you fulfill, I'm not gonna. I can't argue with that.
Yeah, no, it's people. The backers have been burned so many times. I totally get it.
Yeah, I totally understand. But all right, I'm going to close this down. Thanks a lot, everybody. Check
Thank
out
you.
Trick or Treats. It's on Fund My Comic. I think Fund My Comics is an important website. It's us without the politics, no shadow banning. What you see is what you get. And Luke, the owner, great guy. I
Yeah.
messed up so many things setting up my campaign, and he went out of his way to fix it. You don't get that kind of service on Indiegogo or Kickstarter.
Right.
Thanks a lot, everybody. As you can hear, I don't know how I'm going to go through an hour with RJ. RJ, you got to talk this time, but I'll be back at 8:30, same channel. Tomorrow, I don't think I have anything scheduled, and then Friday at Eastern Standard Time, open invite. The link is going to be in the chat. You got to have an avatar. I don't want to talk to. I mean, you got to have no avatar. I got to talk to faces, and we're going to talk about a comic book battle. It's clobbering time. Cyberfrog versus ISO. That should be a big one. And we're not getting personal. We're not attacking any living people. We're talking comic book characters fighting, like Spider-Man versus Nightcrawler. Okay, some people are already like getting all nasty. Don't get nasty. It's two freaking fictional superheroes fighting. We do this. We've been doing this since we were 12. But see you,
Right.
everybody. Bye bye.